everyone, it's nice to be back. I've been away for a while. School holidays approached and came and went, and I thought I would show you a latest project that I've been doing. I've been very busy with these coasters. I've been making loads coming up to Christmas time. I've got quite a lot of orders. But I thought for anyone who's interested, as you know, I started off doing resin art before I did alcohol ink art, and I just thought you might like to see my process. So I always start off in Illustrator and I create the shape, either a freeform drawing, or you can actually find online free vector images. Decide on your shape and then get as many as you can on an A4 sheet of paper and print them out. Once you've printed it out, you place a piece of transparency film paper on the top of it. It's just regular transparency film. But what I like about this sheet of acetate is that it doesn't stick to the resin. Always test out the shape. Take a cup, make sure it fits. And then just using regular silicone bathroom caulk. I like this type, it's in a tube. I don't need the gun, which I find quite annoying. And then you're going to do 2 layers, 1 ring around, let that dry a little bit, and then another ring around the top of it. 2 is more than enough. And you can do all 5. I could only fit 5 on a paper, which is why I've only done 5. So this particular piece is going to be using black mica and gold. And I think it came out really, really elegant. So it's just a matter of mixing your resin with some gold mica, black mica, and then adding, I think there was literally 3 drops, about 3 drops of alcohol ink, or you could use acrylic ink. Giving it a good mix. And I always use clear when I'm doing my coasters. I like to add that in the middle, and although it looks towards the end as though it's all turned into one black mass, when you hold it up towards the light you can see a slight transparency, and I just think it gives it more interest. And just keep adding until you get the right depth of colour. What I like about the mica, it's slightly shiny, a little glittery, but not too much. If I was to use just plain black opaque or plain black ink, it might not have much depth to it. There's my gold. I'm using Maron gold powder. It's my favourite. I use it for everything. So here I've tried something. I've tried taking a pipette, cutting the little end bit of it, and I'm going to use this just to go around in a circle shape around the edges. You will see that when it comes to round shapes with resin, especially when you're doing coasters, no matter how much white you put in the middle, it will all slowly seep into the center. So as you can see, I'm putting quite a lot of white, clear I mean. And just watch that on the top left. Blow out any bubbles and then continue with the rest. So as you can see, it's slowly working its way into the center. And actually what the clear does as it mixes with these 2 different types of mediums, is it creates a really nice marble type effect. And I really like this look. So I'm adding the clear to the middle, blowing any bubbles, and then just leave it. I will be adding the gold much later on. And when you do add anything into the middle, especially anything gold, silver, or any glitters, they will sink to the bottom. Just bear that in mind. And there, if you look on the top left, as you can see, it's slowly making its way into the middle. But I do prefer my coasters semi-opaque, which means that from the surface when it's lying on a table it looks one colour, but when you hold it up to the light it's just slightly transparent. So this is in real time. If you're bored at this stage, you can just forward a little bit. Although I could do with some more watch time. So if you have the time, watch the entire video for me. That would help me out. Okay, and now I'm just going to leave it. So to that one on the top left, since it's already done most of its sinking into the center, I'm going to start adding the gold. I probably ran out of patience for that one on the right and carried on with the gold. But it didn't really make a difference in the end, and you'll see. So these are not quite up to the top, so I'm going to keep adding clear. It will all sink back into the center anyway. But it does need to come up to the top. This is after about 10 minutes, and most of it's sunk into the middle. I'm just keep adding gold, and whatever stays on the top stays on the top. I actually don't like too much gold on the top. It looks a bit tacky, but I like just a little touch. And I will keep going until it's leveled. Okay, so it's done now, and I've demolded it. And can you see? It's just ever so slightly transparent, semi-opaque, gold shining through, and there's a lovely little effect that it's done, which looks really pretty. And that's the mica that does that. To paint the edges, I'm using liquid gold. There's different types of colour. There's liquid leaf, liquid gold, from different brands. One is French and one I've actually got on Amazon. It came all the way from God knows where. It took ages to get to me. But they're both different, slightly different shades of gold. And you just use a brush. Now I wouldn't use a brush that's too soft. Try and use a brush that's a little bit harder, so that not too much of that paint will seep underneath or on the top. And I just like to gently dab the sides with my brush. And as you can see on my left hand, I'm wearing a glove because what happens is the sweat from my hands can catch onto the paint, and I find that this way I don't get too much drippage. And you want to work your way all the way around. And it's nice to have just a little bit on the rim, the top rim. But I personally don't like that big thick line I sometimes see on other coasters. This is my preference. As you can see, I'm just dabbing on the top there with the side of the brush just to give me a very thin trail on the top, which I think looks really elegant. So I have contacted the manufacturers of this resin, and it's very safe to put a cup of tea on it. I wouldn't put anything like a boiling pot of water. But when I sell them, I do give care instructions, and so you know how to look after them. And this is the close-up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your comments down below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.